Hello, my name is Naomi Minsky. I'm the Assistant Director of Education at North London Synagogue. Like many Jewish educators, I have been struck by the challenges that this year has presented us in terms of Jewish living. We've had Pesach Sederim without large family gatherings. We've had Shavuot without the in-person Tikkun Leil, and now we find ourselves in the High Holy Days, either doing services online or gathering in small groups, wearing masks and not being able to sing. Although I myself am in no way musical whatsoever, songs and melodies have always been my way to connect to tefillah and spirituality. Singing helps me uncover those emotions that I don't even know I have, and it helps me feel part of that wider community. So far, I haven't returned to shul because the thought of no singing, no kiddush, not being able to really schmooze and talk to my friends makes me question whether I'd be able to give it the full presence and the full kavod that it truly deserves. Talking to my friends, I know I'm not alone. Even those who only go to shul for the High Holy Days have questioned whether without singing it would actually be worth it. The concept of the power of song is highlighted in this week's parsha in Hatzinu. Hatzinu is the penultimate parsha of the entire Torah. Moses takes a different course of action compared with the other parts of his farewell speech. He does continue to teach the commandments and rebuke the Israelites for all their mistakes, but instead of just talking to them, he speaks in an incredibly poetic manner, which many have considered that to be singing. I want to explore with you some different ideas about why Moses chooses to sing at this point in the narrative, and how it can help us navigate our Jewish life and our Jewish practice and even our leadership at these very different times. It's worth pointing out that this is not the only song in the Torah, and it's not the only song that Moses sings. Mechilta de Rabbi Ishmael counts 10 significant songs, and this also includes the Song of the Seas, the song that Moses and the entirety of Bnei Israel sung after God parted the Red Sea and they were finally free from being slaves in Egypt. But that was actually a time of great joy. They've just experienced a miracle. It's brilliant. But now times are different. The generation that left Egypt is dead, and soon Moses is also going to die before he can enter Israel. In this context, it seems like a strange time to be singing. According to Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Moses' choice of song is a pedagogic tool, and it reflects his incredibly high and well-developed emotional intelligence. Moses wanted to really hear what he had to say to them. He wanted them to remember that there's only one God, don't go and worship idols, and keep the commandments. He had to say or sing his message in a way that the people would always remember it, and they would be inspired by it. In Rabbi Sachs's own words, Moses knew that music has the power to move us, that it can give us that energy, it can inspire and fuel our ability to pass on our commitments to those who come after us. Moses isn't thinking about himself at this point, or the fact that he's about to die. He's simply thinking about the needs of Bnei Israel and also the future of the Jewish people. He wants them to really hear what he has to say and to take it on board. Rabbi Ari Kahn from the Bar Ilan University builds on this idea. He also thinks that Moses' choice of song is indicative of his emotional and spiritual strength and also shows his leadership. He argues that it's easy to sing when we want to thank God. You know, the words, you only sing when you're winning. But it's not so easy to sing when things aren't going our way, when we're feeling those sad emotions. And he draws on the Kotzker Rebbe, who says, it's easy to sing when the crown is on your head, but how can you sing when you are being slapped in the face? It would be understandable to argue that Moses was metaphorically slapped in the face by God. After years of service, he's unable to see the fruits of his labour in Israel due to one mistake he made earlier on in Bamidbar. God told Moses to speak to a rock to draw out water. Moses was furious at this point at the Bnei Israel, who kept showing that they didn't really trust God, and in his anger he struck the rock. God told Moses at this point that he would not be allowed to enter Israel, and he would die just before the Israelites went on. If I was Moses, I would feel disappointed. I'd probably feel rejected by God for this punishment. However, when we look at the specific words that Moses used in the song, we can see that he has a resilience and he has this grace that we can all only aspire to. So Moses says, "Because I will proclaim the name of the Lord, ascribe greatness to our God, the rock whose work is perfect." Of all the ways of describing God, Moses refers to God as a rock. There are so many different metaphors that could have been used, and I think that Moses chooses the metaphor of the rock because he's able to really accept divine justice. He's not avoiding the topic that he's not going to enter the land of Israel. He addresses it heads on. He shows acceptance of his circumstances. And again, he thinks of the needs of the people. He thinks about what is the language that they need to hear, what's the language that they can connect to. Now, bringing it back to us, I don't want to suggest that Corona has been predetermined, but I believe that we also can accept our situation, and there is power in that. This year, it would have been completely understandable to give the High Holy Days celebrations a miss. Perhaps we don't feel like saying sorry to God when we feel that we have really suffered. Maybe we just don't want to reflect on this year of chaos and of pain. But if Moses could sing in a time of heartbreak, then we can keep going as well. And who knows, perhaps we will uncover an understanding of life and the divine that we have not yet encountered. It's worth remembering that Moses wasn't always the leader who could control his emotions and understand and meet the needs of the people. Aaron was thought to be the people person, whilst Moses was logical and he thought about strategy. Yet Moses learned a lot from his encounter with God when he quivered at a burning bush. He had to ask Jethro to help him organise everyone, and of course he lost his temper when he struck the rock. Yet, at this point in the Torah, Moses really has learned from his past, and he's able to put Bnei Israel first, and he can sing through his pain, he can sing through his mistakes, and he's able to convey his message and set an example of what it means to be in a relationship with God. For us, whilst the pinnacle of this Jewish year may be devoid of literal song, and we may feel lost and uncertain of how to do Jewish at the moment, we can also learn from our mistakes. And we need to find ways to turn up, and we need to find new ways to continue to sing the songs of our tradition. Whilst we may feel that we are praying and that we're fasting, celebrating in isolation, we can take comfort in the fact that not getting what we want and needing to draw on our own spiritual resilience links us back to an age-old tradition. Wishing you all a Shana Tova Umechuta and a Song Cloud, a sweet new year and an easy fast.